Is your brand still aligned with your core values, and are you attracting your ideal audience? Venus retrograde is the perfect time to find out. Stay tuned to learn how to work with the Venus retrograde in your career and your business. Venus retrograde is a chance to step back and take an honest look at how your brand represents your values and the relationships that support your business. It's a time for spiritual entrepreneurs and astrologers to reassess whether your brand still reflects who you are and if the connections that you're building are meaningful and in alignment with your goals. Venus retrograde happens over a 6-week time period. So what is Venus retrograde? From our perspective on Earth, it's when Venus appears to move backward in the sky. This happens around every 18 months, and Venus is retrograde for around 6 weeks. Some of the Venus themes that come up are reflection, review, and realignment, like Mercury retrograde, the same 3 words that I always say. But Venus is a different planet, so the retrograde is going to be very different than Mercury retrograde. Venus retrograde brings up themes like relationships, values, and social connections. It's not just about personal relationships, it's also about your business relationships, making this a perfect time period for you to reflect on your brand's public image, your brand's core values, and the relationships that shape your business. Venus is going to go retrograde in 2 different signs. This Venus retrograde starts in bold and independent Aries, pushing you to reflect on how assertively you express your brand's desires and your identity to your ideal client. It asks, am I being too forceful, or am I not assertive enough in how I present my brand out in the public? Think about if you need to adjust how you interact with your clients and the other people that you work with in your brand. Venus is also going to retrograde into Pisces. And so when Venus moves back into dreamy, intuitive Pisces, the focus shifts more towards empathy, emotional connection, and spiritual alignment in your brand relationships. The energy will soften a bit in Pisces. This is a time to reflect, review, and realign how emotionally connected you feel to your brand and whether you're attracting your ideal clients in a way that aligns with your deeper values. And here we have the Venus retrograde dates. Venus is already in its shadow. That would have started back in January. At the end of January, the actual retrograde begins on March the 1st. Possibly the 2nd, depending on where you live. It's going to go retrograde at 10 degrees of Aries. It will re-enter Pisces on March 27th, and then it will station and go direct on April 12th or 13th, depending on where you live. Venus will completely leave the post-shadow, and the end of the cycle will happen on May 16. So the span of degrees for the Venus retrograde is from 10 degrees of Aries to 24 degrees of Pisces. And you will want to note where that is in your chart. This Venus retrograde is going to highlight the core areas of your business that deserve reflection. You can think of Venus as the director of human resources and the director of public relations in your brand. I have a whole framework that I use, and this is the job that I assign to Venus. Think about how Venus, in her role as director of HR and PR, how does this role work in your own business? So think about how you oversee client relationships and brand engagement. During this retrograde, you want to work on realigning your brand with your mission. You want to be sure that things are in alignment and that you're not doing stuff over here and your values have a very different view on your business over there. You want to be sure that what you're putting out there reflects who you are today and not just when you first launched, because things can evolve and change. So this is a good time to kind of look back on how you viewed your business when you launched and how you view your business now. So I'm going to talk about these 3 key themes for branding in your business during the Venus retrograde. The first is core values. The second is your ideal client relationships. And then we'll go over having harmony with your work-life balance, all Venusian things. So first, we're going to look at reevaluating your core values. Your brand's core values are like your compass. They guide every decision you make. But as you grow and evolve, sometimes those values shift, and Venus retrograde is the perfect time to reassess them. Your core values will be involved with your decision making day to day, whether you're conscious of it or not. So it's best to pay attention and be aware of when you're making decisions that are maybe out of alignment with those core values. So think about these questions. Are your core values still aligned with your mission? Have you made decisions recently that feel off brand or inauthentic? This is your chance to reflect, audit, and realign how your brand reflects those core values. And as an activity, you can journal about that. Look at your mission statement and your core values, and then look at some of the things that you're doing right now and see if they are in alignment. Highlight where you're out of alignment, of course, but also notice where you're in alignment. Where are you very strongly broadcasting your core values? Ask yourself, is this true to my brand values or not when you have to make a decision? And if you don't have any values written down for your brand, if you haven't done the process of developing core values for your brand, I highly recommend that you do that under this Venus retrograde. And I usually say 5 values. You can go a little bit more if you want to, or a little bit less, but 5 is a good number to aim for. The next key theme is to reassess your relationship with your ideal clients. Are you building connections with your ideal client? Look at your clientele. Are they the type of client that you are hoping to attract? Are they asking the questions that you are qualified to answer? Think about that, because if you're not attracting the right clients, then during the Venus retrograde is a good time to shift how you're getting your messaging out there. If you are attracting the right clients, is your business thriving? Are you getting repeat business? Are you getting referrals from your ideal client that are bringing more ideal clients to you? So think about that. And some real world applications that you can do during the Venus retrograde is to reconnect with those ideal clients that you have already consulted. Think about who you have seen over the last couple of years and have you heard back from them? If you haven't, you might want to think about reaching out to them. And if you have, then this is really good news because you're getting your ideal client to return back to you. And another way that you can look at how you're getting feedback from your clients is look at the testimonials. Do you have testimonials to read? And if you're not getting those testimonials, that could be something to work on during the Venus retrograde. So read through those testimonials and determine, are they reflecting back to you how you want your brand to be received? These are valuable messages that can help you reshape your branding as needed. And the third area is restoring harmony and work-life balance. Venus is striving for balance, is very aware when things are out of balance, and also knows that it's practically impossible to always be in balance, like rigidly holding yourself there. Being in balance is kind of being able to shift and move as needed. But what you don't want is to be like this, to be really out of balance where you're going to extremes. You want to be more like this when you're driving. You don't hold your steering wheel rigid because eventually you're going to go off to the side of the road, but you're constantly adjusting it to keep it right in the center of the road where you want to be, or the center of your lane, I should say. So think about that when we're talking about balance and harmony here. And what you can do under this Venus retrograde is evaluate your work-life balance. Is your career, is your business supporting your personal well-being, or is it draining your energy? And I know, as a business owner, I know that there are definitely times when you can get out of balance. There's just too much to do and not enough time in the day to do it. But what you want to be striving for is to find that work-life balance. Is there a light at the end of the tunnel? Is there a plan that you have that is eventually going to bring more balance into your life? Or are you in this perpetual state of being out of balance and burned out and drained? Because if that's the case, then a change is needed to bring some harmony and balance back in. Some of the things that you can do is to just check in. Are you holding proper boundaries? Are you holding good boundaries? Or are you saying yes? Are you saying yes to appointments on days that are supposed to be your day off? Are you taking appointments too late at night or too early in the morning where it's disrupting your flow? And if the answer is yes, then it's time to put in some new boundaries. If you don't have a realistic self-care plan, that is a wonderful thing to do under the Venus retrograde. So, to kind of summarize what we've talked about, do reflect on your brand values and how they're guiding your decisions. And remember that even if you don't have values, something is guiding your day to day decisions. And if it's unconscious, decisions could be made that are really inconsistent and may not always be in alignment with your actual values, your core values. If you don't have core values, it's a great time to develop them. It's a good time to reconnect with past clients, especially those ideal clients, the people that you want to attract more of. You want to assess client satisfaction. And if you are getting more and more of your ideal clients, or if you're getting less and less, or you're not getting them at all, take stock of your work-life balance. Now, some of the things that you don't want to do under the Venus retrograde, it's not the best time to launch new partnerships with people that you have never worked with before, especially people that are unknown to you. So if possible, you might want to wait until the Venus retrograde has finished. If you want to wait till the shadow is finished, we're looking at mid-May. But if you want to do something after Venus goes direct, then we're looking at mid-April. What you don't want to do is a complete overhaul of your branding without taking the time to review, reflect, and realign. Just jumping in and doing it without thought, that's probably not going to give you the best results, but that is what Aries likes to do. And Venus is going to go retrograde in Aries. So think about that impulsivity, that impatience to just go implement something new. Try to hold off and make sure that you're doing that review, reflect, and realign first. I just went through that myself. I have this new idea and I was ready to just gung-ho, jump in, dive in, and I was doing research, and then it occurred to me that I am not doing it the right way, or at least the way that I would advise myself if I were not me and I was consulting with somebody like me. I'd say, well, slow down a little bit, do some review, do some reflection, write up a plan, and then implement it. So think about that if you're ready to jump in the deep end of the pool on some cool new idea. It may still be the best idea, but just take the time to put the research in before you launch it. And if you can wait till Venus is direct, fantastic. It's not going to be that long to wait. You don't want to put a lot of energy into new partnerships. I would say it's better to work on current partnerships. Don't ignore work-life imbalances. This is a time to recognize that they're there and to start working on a plan to minimize that. It's not like you're going to do one day I'm doing things like this, and then the next day, all of a sudden I have work-life balance. It doesn't usually work like that. Oftentimes it takes some planning and some restructuring of your calendar and setting some healthy boundaries. So think about that during the Venus retrograde. Now we're going to take a look at Venus retrograde by midheaven element. So there's 4 elements. There's fire, air, earth, and water. And if you have your chart, then you'll know your midheaven, and it's going to be one of these 4 elements. If you have a midheaven, that's the MC at the top of your chart. If it's in Aries, Leo, or Sagittarius, reassess how your passion and leadership come across. We're talking about your personal brand here, your public brand, I should say. Your midheaven is what you are broadcasting out into the world. It's your image. So are you leading with inspiration, or are you overpowering your audience? Reflect on your level of boldness and if it feels authentic and connected, or if you've gotten out of your range and it's no longer what you really want to put out there. If you have an earth midheaven, and that would be Taurus, Virgo, and Capricorn, you want to reflect on whether your public brand is in alignment with your core values. Of course, that goes for every sign. And if it projects the consistency and trustworthiness that your audience expects from you. The questions that you want to ask yourself, that you want to journal about, is, does your brand reflect stability and trustworthiness? How are your current systems that you're using in alignment with your long-term goals? Now, if you have an air midheaven, that would be Gemini, Libra, or Aquarius, refine your messaging and how you're engaging with your audience. Are your communications fostering clarity and meaningful dialogue? Think about your social media, your emails, even your designs. Is it all in alignment? Is that communication going out in the way that you want it to go out? Is it consistent with your brand's voice? And of course, it should also be consistent with what is going to attract your ideal client. So think about those things if you have an air midheaven. And now we'll look at the water sign midheavens, and that would be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. So if you have one of these signs at the top of your chart in the midheaven, you'll want to think about how to reconnect with the heart, the emotional heart of your brand story. Are you sharing your message in a way that creates genuine connection? So think about, how does your brand reflect your style, your depth? Does it resonate with your ideal client emotionally? I actually wrote a whole guide on the Venus retrograde, and you can get that for free. I'm going to put a link in the description below, and you can pop over to my website and grab your free copy. I will be back with a video on the Mercury retrograde. Yes, we have a Venus retrograde and a Mercury retrograde happening in the same time period. They will both be happening in March. First will be Venus retrograde at the beginning of the month, and then we'll have Mercury going retrograde towards the middle of the month. Another exciting announcement I have for you is that I'm going to start doing Midheaven horoscopes. That's going to launch in March. So stay tuned for that. If you want to be notified when these videos become available, please subscribe to my channel and click the bell button so that you get notified when videos are released. Thank you so much for joining me today. I will see you next time. You can find me at LoriBarnesAstrology.com. I'll see you next time. Ciao.